system, or you're a student, and you have questions about the educational system and the way forward for you, you can text us on 075 3966 1744. I'll take the number again. It's 075 3966 1744. Mr. James, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. Before we went on the break, I wanted to find out from you. If you're in the UK, you would have heard something about the new wave of grammar schools which is being planned, and I want to know more about it because I'm as confused as my producer right here, Frank. So I want you to educate us and our listeners out there. What does it mean for parents and the educational system in general?
Well, I think it's a bit confusing when it comes to grammar schools as to whether a child should be sent to grammar school or not.
What is a grammar school in the first place?
Grammar school is some kind of an elitist school for more able students academically.
Okay.
It's a form of a selective school for more able students to be there, to prepare them. And people think that it's more of kind of a segregation. You are trying to segregate the more able elitist kids from the less able disadvantaged children. Now, my personal opinion as a teacher teaching here for the past 16 years, the quality of teaching and learning in our schools, especially comprehensive schools, have improved. For the past 10-15 years, there has been a dramatic change. Most schools in inner London are doing well. It used to be challenging, but because of the changes, the initiative that were put in by past governments, we could see that the results are improving. So for us to go back into the grammar school system, I think that is not the right way. I think that more energy should be put into failing schools, in inner London schools, or in areas where deprivations are there, to improve the quality of teaching and learning in those schools, so that disadvantaged children from poor background can also access quality education. Now, we know of this postcode lottery system where you must have money to buy a property in a very rich area to be able to send your child to a very good grammar school or a very poor school. It's still going on. But I think that it's not fair. The system will do a disservice to some of our children, more able children in poor areas who can't access that kind of facility. Because if you live in a poor area where your parents cannot afford to buy a property worth over £500,000 for you to access a good grammar school or a selective school, that means you're stuck.
You're stuck.
So I think that more funding should be put into developing good schools within the area, getting more schools to be upgraded in terms of the quality of teaching, so that we can get more able students from poor background to get into those schools as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for throwing some light on that front. And you attended a program in Rome, which was called 21st Century Skills for 21st Century Jobs for the Younger Generation.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Yeah. This training was organized by the European Union. They have what we call VET, Vocational Education and Technical Education. Now, it came up as a result of what the CBI, the body in the UK that look into industries, now they advise governments about the kind of skills that they need within the industries and institutions. Now, one of the things that they said was that young people completing universities do not have enough skills, the technical skills, the competency to do the job that is required of them. And as a result of that, they have to revamp the educational system to let young people get to know what we call 21st century skills. Now, what do I mean by that? You know that these days, if you go to Tesco or Sainsbury or any of the supermarkets, the number of people at the till are going down. You're being served by an automated system. So if you have been sitting at the till serving, now there is a time coming that you won't be there.
Yes, your job will be redundant.
You'll be made redundant. So we need 21st century skills, which has to do with technical skills.
Okay.
When you're traveling these days, you're checking electronically, you get your boarding pass electronically.
Yeah.
The system lets you go through by using your boarding pass. Now, they're cutting down the number of people working within the system. So we need more technical skills, skills that will get people into doing more advanced things than manual or short form kind of work that doesn't involve more of brain thinking and technical things. And that is what we were talking about. What kind of skills do we need to give to our young people? Numeracy skills, technical skills, literacy skills, ICT skills. We need them. A lot of people who were trained many years ago have to be retrained again because of the changes in our computer system, the use of ICT. And that is what employers are saying, that we need our graduates to be into these kind of skills. Either than that, they won't be able to meet the 21st century changes that we're having. So that is what the training was all about. So that when we go back, we will start embedding those kind of skills within our educational system.
All right. Okay, all right. So what is a 21st century job, and how does one amass skills for such an occupation or career or job?
Well, it comes through training, apprenticeship, and also experience.
All right.
Now, things that we used to do 20 years ago, where mobile phones were not at the increase, these days we all use mobile phones to even do our banking.
Yes.
You don't need to go to the bank to pay your bills anymore. You can do everything online. Now, so all these kind of skills are needed to support the economy, for things to move faster.
Yes.
So if you are still using analog system, you're going to be behind.
You'll be stuck.
And that is why we need to start training our young people all these technical skills.
Yes.
So when we talk about 21st century jobs, for example, you go to some of these banks, they don't even have a lot of staff at the till.
Yes, everything is automated.
Everything is automated. So we need someone to program these kind of automated systems, and that is 21st century job.
Great.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That is 21st century job. Now, teaching too has changed.
Yeah.
We used to use chalk and the board. Now we use an interactive whiteboard. Even we use our fingers to write on the board without using a pen. You need to be trained. You need to upskill yourself. Teachers who were trained many years ago in Ghana, for example, they're being asked to go and learn how to use ICT, know how to use the computer,
Yes.
to design lesson plans and all sorts of things. So these are the kind of things that we need to start teaching our young people. Either than that, we won't be able to fit into the global market.
That is very true.
And finally, let me just add one thing.
Right.
In the UK, they're coming up with Mandarin language in our schools.
All right. And Mandarin is spoken in China.
In China.
Great.
In fact, it's spoken worldwide than any other language in the world.
All right.
Mandarin is spoken worldwide than any other language
All right.
because of the population of China.
Yes.
Why do we want to teach Mandarin? It's a 21st century skill. Why? Because China is becoming one of the global trading partners.
Yes.
So we need to teach our young people to be able to speak Mandarin, so that when we trade in with China, they can express themselves.
There will not be any language
Exactly,
barrier.
exactly. So these are some of the things that we need to look into the 21st century.
That is brilliant. That is good. It's interesting to hear you say this, and you speak with so much passion for what you do. What fuels your passion? What makes you so passionate about being someone who wants to impact education into the younger generation?
I think that everybody, regardless of your background or where you're coming from, you should have that equal opportunity to develop yourself.
That is true.
And it saddens me when I see young people being disadvantaged. Sometimes it's not their fault, but it's about poor leadership and management within especially poor and developing countries. This is what drives me, because when I was in Ghana as a student, I saw the challenges that children go through. I saw the challenges that young people go through, and some of the challenges were unnecessary. They shouldn't have been through if things were managed properly.
Yes.
So what I see is that we can also do something in terms of enlightening our young people, young women, empowering them, giving them the skills to be able to develop themselves, to be able to get, jobs, to look after themselves. You talk of reproductive health, you talk about maternal health, you talk about all these things to alleviate or eradicate poverty within our communities. Poverty, it's something that can be dealt with.
We can.
And it's all about the leadership that we have in developing countries, and in Africa in particular, because young people are not lazy. I've seen it. They're passionate. They want to do work. They want to work, but opportunities are not there for them.
Yeah, they're lacking leadership.
That is the problem.
Yes.
So that's what drives me, because every child shouldn't be left behind. Every child should be given access to education. That is a fundamental right. And it's sad that I'm told by the United Nations, I read it, that the 2020 vision will not be possible. We have to wait till 2045.
But it's a long time away.
2045 for every single child in this world to have access to education. At the moment, we are not there yet. The Millennium Achievement Goal that we came out with, that every child should have access to education by 2015, we couldn't make it. It was extended to 2020. This is not going to be possible. Now, just last week, UNICEF came out with a report that is going to take up to 2045.
That is 25 years.
Yes. But is it realistic? I don't think so.
Yes.
So these are some of the things that drives me to make a change and transform lives.
Yeah. I hope that whoever out there's listening is inspired, and if you have any questions or any comments, you want something to be thrown more light on, you can text us on 075-3966-1744. Mr. James also, how would you, I know you work a lot with the African continent and so many countries in Africa, how would you describe the African continent?
Well, I remember the former Prime Minister Tony Blair said something, that Africa is a scar on us, and it's an indictment on the global Western world. I mean, it saddens me that Africa, as rich as any other developed country when it comes to human resource and natural resource, we are still below the poverty rate, even below what the United Nations, people are living under $1 a day
Okay.
in developing countries, especially sub-Saharan African countries. The problem, what I see in Africa, is not that people are lazy. No. Africans are hard-working people. I've seen it. But it's all about leadership. The problem is one, leadership, corruption, and also greed. The resources that we have in Africa should be enough to mitigate the difficulties and the challenges that our young people are facing. And if you look at most African countries where they're making progress, it has to do with leadership. If we are not investing into education, giving our young people the opportunity to get education, investing more into skills, competency, then we are doomed. Now, in the Dakar, Senegal, they had a conference there in 1989 that they want African countries to devote at least 12% of their GDP into education, and it hasn't been materialized. The only country is Botswana, which is a country doing very well in terms of putting in more money. So the will is not there. The means are there, but the will is not there. That is the problem. So if we can transform Africa, we can make a change, then we need to look at leadership, the commitment for our leaders, the empathy to see that we need to inject into the system money into education, into our health care, social care, mental health, and all these issues should be dealt with. But corruption to the highest level is one of the factors moving us back. Ghana, for example, in 1983, the economy of Ghana was as equal as the economy of Spain. In 1983, now look at where we are as a country. I'm using it as an example. Ghana had the same independence with Singapore. Recently, Singapore celebrated 50th anniversary when they had their independence. Now, Singapore has the highest home owners in the world than any other country. Singapore. And we were at the same level per capita, per income. Now Ghana is below $500 a year GDP. Singapore is over $50,000. So it tells us that it's all about leadership.
Indeed it is.
So Africa can do well when we change the way we do things, our attitude to work, our attitude to amongst ourselves, the way we see our brothers and sisters, empathize with them,
Yes.
not being selfish.
Not being
It's
selfish.
greed.
Do you think there's a way forward when it comes to that, being selfless and having to share the wealth of the nation evenly?
Yeah, it will take some time, and I think that it has to start with children. We need to start teaching our young people straight from nursery about citizenship, about integrity, about honesty. We need to start teaching them, because it starts from there.
It starts from there. That's true.
Our leadership is in shambles, to be honest with you.
It's hopeless.
It's about self-centeredness. And if we can change that, start with the young people, start with the children, teach them not being corrupt, not being greedy, share, be selfless, volunteer to work for people without getting money, be a good citizen. Don't be more into money. Let's be selfless and help. That will change.
That will change.
Be more charitable. We need to start teaching our young people.
I believe we really need to teach our youngsters that, because in the long run it will pay off.
Yes.
Once you instill these values into a child, they carry it with them and
Absolutely.
they grow with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I hope everyone listening and you and I would make it a point to instill such values into our children.
In a small way.
It will make a difference.
Yes.
It will. Yeah. All right. I know that you have worked extensively with African countries. What stumbling blocks do you encounter in working in Africa? I believe there are many.
There are many.
Countless.
One of the challenges that recently I had was the way we do things and our attitude to work.
Okay.
For instance, we don't stick to our time, which is a big issue.
Yes.
When you have meetings, when business meetings and training, people don't get there on time.
Why do you think people of our color are like that?
Well, there's a saying that this is it used to be African time. Now this is a black man's time.
Yes, a black man's time.
I don't know where the genetic base of it, whether it's something genetic or not, I don't know. But I think that it has to do with the way we value things and the way we do things. It's becoming a culture and is looking at it's acceptable. Even ministers turn late to functions.
Yeah.
That's one. The other challenge has to do with energy. There's energy crisis not only in Ghana. When I was in Nigeria, in Lagos, it was terrible there.
It's a continental issue.
Even in South Africa,
Oh, yes.
when I was in Cape Town, they do power rationalization in South Africa. You won't believe it.
It's a dark continent, isn't it?
Yeah. So energy is an issue in Africa, and we need to look into sustainable energy.
Yeah.
We need to look into renewable energy, and it costs a lot of money, but we have to do it. Solar panels and all these things can be used. So energy is one of the challenges facing Africa. And when it comes to internet, it's a big challenge in Africa. So when you are accessing information, when you distributing information, passing on networking, sometimes it's quite difficult.
It is difficult.
Because we don't have this kind of broadband system in Africa.
Yes.
The wireless network is quite weak, though people are trying to do their best. We still have challenges there. We started with this online program, and it's more about internet based, and a lot of people don't have access to internet, so it makes it quite challenging for people to access online education, which is something that is a big issue. But we're working on it.
We will get there eventually.
We will.
All right, we've been listening to Mr. James Owusu, who is an educational consultant and a science teacher based in London. The WhatsApp number again is 0753966144. We're going to go on a short break, and when we come back, we're going to find out something more personal about Mr. James Owusu. And the interview continues. Stay tuned, don't move your dial.